Alright, Pirate Handyman here. Have you ever had a floor fan like this that all of a sudden started acting kind of funny? It was making funny noises. When you turn it on, it would start slowly. It's probably just dirty. And I'm going to show you how you can clean it and take a fan that maybe you would have before thrown away after a year or two and make it last 5, 6, 7 years. So, first of all, we're going to have to take this off, and usually you'll see there's little tabs all the way around, so you can just take a regular flathead screwdriver, go in next to the tabs, pop them out, and once you get enough of them popped out, you'll be able to just take it out. Now, you want to make sure that the fan's unplugged, because you don't want it accidentally coming on. You don't want to hit something. So once we get all the way around, now we can take it off. Now you'll see that there's a lot of dust and stuff on that. We're going to clean this before we put it back together. Now the next thing we want to do is take the fan assembly itself off. So there's usually a nut, which is right here, that you want to take off. Now the interesting thing about this is it's threaded backwards. So instead of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, this is going to be righty-loosey. So we're just turning it to the right and it's coming off. Take that all the way off, and then we can just grab back here, push on the center, and take the fan itself off. Now again, we're going to have to clean this before we put it back on. Now we want to get to the motor assembly because this is where it's probably gotten dirty. So here we've got a couple of screws, and we're just going to take these screws off. And we're going to want to make sure we clean this entire assembly, because what has caused the fan to start running slower or whatever kind of noise it's making is just the collection of dirt and dust. And obviously a fan is going to pick up all of that stuff because it's blown around the room. So now we pull this off. Now you can see in here, look at how dirty that is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take just some damp paper towels, and just go around and clean this. So the fan is going to breathe better. It's not going to overheat, because sometimes there will be a what's called a thermocouple in here, and if the fan gets too hot, it'll shut off. And it's because it's not getting enough air. And so you can see we've got quite a bit of dust. Now once we get all of this cleaned up, we want to oil the motor a little bit. Now this shaft here, this is actually the center of the motor, and you can see it's turning, and sometimes you'll feel a little bit of resistance in there because of maybe the dirt buildup. Alright, so now we want to oil the shaft on the motor just to kind of lubricate it a little bit. I use 3-in-1 oil. This is something that you can get at supermarkets, you know, places like Walmart. You can also get them at pretty much any hardware store. You can order it online. If you have WD-40, WD-40 will also work. I just like the 3-in-1 oil because it's easier to control, and I think it does a little bit better job. So we're going to tip the fan motor back, and we're just going to put the oil right around the bottom of the shaft there. And once we do that, we're going to let it set for a little while and just kind of spin it. As it's getting in there, it's going to lubricate everything that's inside there. Now you don't want to put too much on, but you want to get it just enough that, see, now you can feel it's floating pretty good. Now if you really wanted to have some fun, you could take this whole housing off and actually turn the motor upside down, and there's a little bearing assembly that's on the back of the case, and you could squirt some in there. I generally don't do that unless it's still not turning very well, and especially if it's quite a bit older. This fan here is only about 2 years old. So now we're going to put her back together. Now you'll notice here that there's going to be guides, and on here you've got the cutout for the bottom here, and then the 2 screw holes. So as I put this back on, I want to make sure I get that lined up. You'll feel when it goes back on. Then I'll get my 2 screws. Then we'll clean the fan blade assembly. You can tell your kids all the little things that are hanging off the side here. It's when the dust bunny flew into it. And I especially like to get the inside here because this is what's going up against the front of the motor. Now, you'll notice that on the shaft here, there's something that goes straight through the center of it. And this is to help align, not only to align, but to keep the fan in place. And as you can see here, there's a little groove that goes straight across. So you want to seat that on this little thing that is right around the fan motor. Put the screw back on here. Now remember, this is reverse threaded, so we're going to put it on left with a left-hand thread. So once we put that back on, now we make sure that it's still spinning. We want to make sure it's spinning loose, make sure our lubricant's doing its job, and you can see it's going real well. So now we wipe all the stuff off of here. One reason you want to make sure you get all this off, because when you first turn the fan back on, it's going to blow all this stuff out. So we want to make sure that the, whatever the name is the way it's supposed to be, because you might live with somebody who's OCD and they'll want to make sure that that's straight. And usually this will just snap right back on because of those tabs, and voila, there you go. Your fan should be good to go for another year. Thanks for stopping by, and hope you found this to be at least mildly helpful. If you kind of dig what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button down below, and every time a new video drops you'll be notified. Till next time, smooth sailing.